Hello everyone, thank you for coming. Tonight we're doing a dark spooky stream, and by that I mean I'm very tired. I've had a massive day. For those of you who don't know a little bit about me, I train for strongman on my pursuit of being world's strongest man. I'm very tired from lifting today. I took everything I had out of me. I'm just blown out. So excuse me if I'm not super motivated today, but I feel good. I always find painting, obviously being my job, to be a good deload for me in my mind. I'm very tired from training, and I train really aggressive. And lifting or any form of exercise is always really good as a way to exert your excess energy. But then art for me is a way to bring it all back. Oh, just move my big Cintiq over. So this is where we ended up last time, and just as a reminder for everyone, so here is where we've created 8 different photo bashes, and we've done a quick paint over on them just to kind of get like a a general idea of kind of what we were going for. I always believe in just getting the idea out first, keep it in your mind. Plus you can see if something's working or not. From here, I've selected 4 that I really like. I'll zoom out a little bit. I've selected 4 that I really like. Yeah, very dark. Selected my favorite 4. And what I've done, I've just done it off stream, just as like a time saver. And all I'm doing here with this is that I added like some form of element to it from like a photo. So these 3, 1, 2, 3, are all yeah, super dark. That's it. Actually, I want to see if I can get my chat box up. Chat box. Sure. You can't see that beautiful face. Oh, you're gorgeous. Where should we add it? I'll put it right here, and I'll shrink it just a little bit. As much as I love seeing all you, I want everyone to see your messages and how you guys are interacting. Can't have you taking up too much space, unfortunately. Awesome. Oh, I put 2 chat boxes in for some reason. What's this? Turn on a light, let us see that pretty face. No, you get dark mystery, unfortunately. I can't do the light right now, it'll blow my eyes out. And help me focus on the screen. Alright, so all I've done is I've just added like a skybox. So just added like a sky element to each one. This one I've done something a little more interesting, which I'll run over shortly. Also, I've just added a brightness and contrast. I've really not put too much into it. So here, for example, I've just gone and added like a brightness, and then I've increased or decreased the contrast. Be careful. My only advice from you is be careful how much brightness and contrast you add. You can really blow out your image when you don't need to. Absolutely no need to blow out your image. Keep it pretty basic, and you'll see why. Because we'll go in later, We'll go in later and we'll add more ourselves. So there's no need to go crazy too early. It's more about just trying to create a sense of cinema. What's the beauty in the moment? What are we trying to capture? Just get that layer out so you guys can see. So I'll just briefly run through everything that I intend to do. So this one I'm wanting to do like this kind of monument with maybe some stars aligning that link up with this, or maybe some major stars in here. I'll play around with it and we'll see how we go. But I like this idea of this monument or this piece of earth that carves out to show some kind of like mystical space thing kind of going on. This one on the right, I'm going to be doing like a big drop down here and having like a giant pillar floating off in the side or floating behind the light here. Wanting to see what I can kind of do with this interesting terrain. Here, I've got to add another filter to kind of blend this in a little more. And this will be a great way for me to explain live. Sorry, 2 seconds. Yeah, so this will be a cool, like a little, oh yeah, sorry, this one over here. All I have to do, yeah, be a good explanation to show you how I use contrast and filters to kind of blend everything together. Here I'm going to build like a little castle on the side here and kind of go for a similar kind of Gondor theme where like there's this castle on the side of a mountain and there's this like dark, eerie, you know, clouds in the distance. And then here, I had this idea for this stairway to go up, but I wanted to make it way, way more interesting. I'm going to shrink myself, actually. I'm just a little too much right now, I think. So it's like this normal... This is really cool fantasy. This like normal kind of earthy terrain, but then here is like this stairway where it's like you know, you fall into space itself, and there's this little walkway I'm going to craft that goes all the way up. So you might ask, like, where do we go from here? What's the place? Where are we intending to move? Might be the question. And the idea is to just get everything idea-wise down. We can clean the painting up. You don't want to ruin the point of the Photobashed, so make sure you paint off the canvas, and I'll explain that. But just use the painting and start crafting the shapes. Because what happens if we lose the grass terrain detail here? That's alright, as long as the colors and the beautiful values stay and the lighting integrity is there. We can put more photo bashing stuff on if that's what you want to do. But it's about making sure we capture the idea more than anything else. So, number one thing before I get in, right? We're touching colors on the canvas. You see how it changes everywhere I touch. We want to, I'm grabbing lights and darks from everywhere, right? I'm working from the canvas. Sorry guys, just gotta remind myself to speak a few times today. So just working from the canvas, using the colors that are there. Sometimes I'll grab some like additional kind of colors and play around with certain ideas. But typically, you know, working off the canvas. Oh, my camera has crashed, of course it has. I will be acquiring a new camera shortly. Ooh, beautiful. So here I'm just trying to get the major shapes of this rock. I use like a sort of scribble technique to generate random like sizes of shapes. And then I'll come in layering black and like dark and lights on each other constantly over and over. And what this allows me to do is make interesting like contrasts. Alright. Just trying to create some kind of contrast here. And this is why it's important to work off the canvas. There's these beautiful blues that are coming and hiding up underneath here. And I want to bring them out. And I can only get that by, you know, from working off the canvas if we start just throwing our own colors in. See here what I did when, you might have seen I changed the color a bit. So I grabbed it here and I pushed it quite high, but I'm using a low opacity plus my pen, well, I'm using a pen pressure. So I'm lightly touching it in. And what it allows me to do is make like a gradient of blue over time. So not as intense, but I'm still following the same kind of color that I did before. God, I just realized how close I'm getting to the camera. Let's push you way back. Alright. I was like, this in the camera before. So yeah, I'm just trying to create that gradient. As you can see, those blues sitting quite nicely in the piece. Get some of this green. I really liked how this green kind of blended in. We just slightly layer it over top. So this is why opacity is so important, but using a hard brush. I'm not a big fan of using soft brushes unless it's something like a sky. But the whole idea here is that by using opacity, we are layering these colors and making basically our own unique kind of color values. The way I paint, the way I like move my brush is a little unique. I sometimes paint without purpose, which can screw me up sometimes, but I tend to find that I'm more creative with it, and I generate like unique kind of landscape ideas. Like here I've made with this light here, I'm gonna come through with some dark and kind of layer it and make like different surfaces. I kind of generate my own terrain. And that's probably for me my biggest reason why I do it, and I really have a lot of fun using this method. Some people prefer to have more purpose in the way they're painting, and that like totally works. You're not right or wrong in any way for doing either or. Sometimes I like to just kind of figure things out and have a bit more fun with it. Or sometimes I want to be more loose and explore. So here I'm just trying to think about how the grass terrain layers on the back here. So I'm grabbing something that's a little too bright right now. So what I want to do is just add some of that grass behind. See, when it's ever getting too light here, I'll just come back again with that dark and layer some, you know, different kind of shadows back into it. And just give it that depth. And then come back in. So it's all about layering. So I tend to not run one pass over on things. I'll come back over and over again. And as you can see, we're creating some really interesting, you know, shapes, color variations, values. Always, I'm going to keep stressing this throughout the entire time, every time we photo bash. Hope you get used to it. But please do not stress about what the original image is. Be worried about what image you're trying to create. That's what's really is 100% most important. Every time, it is about the image that you're trying to make. What is the image exactly that you're trying to produce? What is the magic in the art piece that you're making right now? The tying yourself down too much to the original image and trying to keep all these big details shows a lack of understanding of what photo bashing is trying to achieve, and a lack of understanding that you can just add more later. I used to freak out, oh my gosh, when I do city stuff, and I was like, oh, but it looks so good. Well, add some in later. You can 100% do it. People do it all the time. If you watch any speed paints, like, people are always running around, jumping all over the place, adding new photos in all the time. So if you want to use that, that's fine. But just don't stress too much. What I'm going to do here, so when I want to add new terrain, see, I'm going to add a little section that comes out here. Right? see how I start with big dark values, and then I'm going to add some of those beautiful blues. I'm going to grab some of these lighter, these not so bright greens. All right. Yep. Is that right? Does that look good? Oh, itchy leg. No, I don't like that angle so much. How do I want this to go? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just figuring some things out. Yeah. So as you can see, I add the dark first, right? Every time, add the dark first. And what that is allowing me to do is just create a foundation to paint on. Everything should be dark like underneath, and then you go brighter, 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 brighter as time goes on. Always start with darks first, in my opinion. Look, as I said, if you don't agree and you got a better way of doing it, go ahead and use it. But my suggestion is 100% go darks. Because the problem is, Bob Ross said, is you can't have light without dark. And it's very true, because the light parts of your artwork only exist because of the let me say, the light parts of your things only exist because of the dark, because it's creating this contrast. So everything's about generating contrast, generate contrast, generate contrast. And you'll soon find that things punch so much more. They look so much more alive. The more contrast you can generate on a, scale. It's very interesting what you can do with it. All right, let's get a color. So I just want to define these mountains in the back. I actually quite like them a lot. Just touching all over it, because we're going to have this kind of green theme to it all. Just kind of defining this idea of this like green top of these mountains that drops off on this kind of flat cliff, as if it's like this giant circle. I'll keep kind of going down as to kind of show this draw distance, and then beautiful. Now this is where we can start playing with some lighting. Oh yeah, of course. As we kind of get further away, you basically, air density kicks in with lighting. And what starts to occur is this kind of fade in the distance. And that's occurring because of, as I said, like air density and fog. Ooh. Just a fraction darker. All I'm doing here is just trying to add some kind of multiple layers to this background. Adding some more kind of things in the distance. The only thing else I want to do is I want to slowly remove some of these stars. And the only thing, no, I don't want to remove them just yet. I just want to clean up certain parts. Thinking on the fly is one of the biggest tricks in this kind of digital painting field. That's why I don't have that on. just want to kind of free that space up. And then bring this back down. Beautiful. So what we'll do is we'll fill the star field out a little more later. That's okay. So we can see how that one's coming along. We're starting to get some shapes. I'm wanting to add some more mass over in the corners. You see as we kind of zoom away, there's a few little issues here and there that are niggling to me. Mainly that this is like a big mass here, but there's nothing over here. So we'll fill that out. I'll keep this quite distanced for now. I think I'm going in a little too close. And this constantly question yourself. Change things, you know, if you're not feeling like they're not working great. So and we just want to make sure we kind of work on all of these, you know, to some kind of equal degree. We don't want to neglect any of them, because you never, even if you really like one, you never quite know if something will pay off. Something might just be magic incarnate, you know, and before you know it, you've changed which one's your favorite, right? So I'm just trying to make a kind of, how would I explain? An understanding for myself and the viewer as quickly as possible about where things move by creating kind of directional lines. So here I want things to drop in this big hole in the ground. So I put these lines that go straight down, because that's the way those lines would kind of like interact, right? I'm just wanting to change little parts here. There we go. Actually, this is looking so much nicer now. It's starting to come into its own. But see what, like, you guys might not be seeing it just yet. My beautiful girlfriend always comes in. She's like, I have no idea what the hell you're painting right now. And I must apologize. Like, you know, I do realize sometimes I'm like, see, you guys can see the image, right? And then everyone's like, I have no idea what you're painting. More green. More green. More gray. And it's like fair, you know, like, you guys don't know what I'm painting, that's fine. I want yellow here instead. Sometimes it like looks really confusing, but I promise you that stick with it, like stick with me, and you know, it will prove itself to you over time. You know, as Conor McGregor says, give me time, for I'll be the greatest of all time. And it's very true here. This painting will become, just needs time for it to grow. And you have to, you know, you have to put in the time. For it to kind of blossom, I guess, would be the best way to explain it. So I'm wanting to step away as I'm trying to mix some of these bright greens, that's just not contrasting well. So let me show you a little thing you can do here. Okay, actually I'll just put it on top. So I tend to merge everything down to one layer. I'm just keeping this separate for this, you know, presentation purposes. So if I feel like something's too green, I'll put like a warming filter on it. As you can see, it's just applying to that one side. But my kind of intention with it is to help it, you know, transition. I do feel like maybe it's a little contrasty, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to put the saturation filter and kind of desaturate it a little bit. Maybe do less on the photo filter. And as you can see, that has blended it back together. Alright, let's get this back and going. I just want to use cloudy for a bit. Just want to get some of these blues back in. They look so good, these blues. So I'm just using the cloudy brush now, just because it creates like this really nice fog effect. And we'll keep going back and forth. As I said, it's about creating this like back and forth between values and colors, and that's why I throw blues in sometimes in with these hot colors. Is I feel like it, you know, mixes up a little bit and creates these like interesting values that we might not normally achieve. So all I'm trying here is just to get some of these big shapes out the way. See, the biggest issue that kind of comes with photo bashing is things start to look very soft. So what we do here, for example, I'm creating, that's a bit dark for my liking. I'm creating like harder lines and harder values. So I'll kind of make these distinct lines, and if, you know, it's like a bush or something, then or trees or fauna, like I'll soften it out over time. I'll add more to it, but that line needs to be drawn. You know, the clarity needs to exist. And if it doesn't exist, you'll notice that that if you haven't got that kind of clarity to begin with, you can't really progress. And we want to keep trotting on the best we can. I'm always looking over at my stream because I get a better view. Oh, that's so bad. I just like looking at my stuff from different angles and different colors. But see the way that I keep going back and constantly redefining. You know, like I'm using these trees. If you zoom in, I'm pretty sure they're like trees or fauna or something. I'm like redefining them over time as like rocks and shapes. So I'm kind of using some of my techniques here. I'm gonna actually add like an interesting little path here. I ended a little earlier than that. That's what I mean, like never ever forget that you get to define these little paths and little shapes. Don't be afraid to change what's there, you know. Be bold. The colors given to you by the Photobashed are there to guide you and to give you some fresh ideas, but the idea is always yours. So we go away. Oh, wait a second. I'm gonna put these in the layer in the group just so I can turn it on and off. That's how we started. And you see how we transform, these transform so much. So now that this one's kind of got its general idea out the way, we'll move over to that one, bottom left. And we'll just keep bouncing between these four. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. That's looking so good. Just want to kind of get these kind of stairs working. I like the idea of the platforms clearly standing on the outside, but then they're like, they're floating on the inside. I think that looks really nice. So it's kind of this cool little crazy fantasy land kind of going on. Just want to add some of these beautiful reds and blues to the base of all of these, so it creates like a fun little sparkle. Let's add like a circular gate. I'm loving putting this red in. And even though it might be pretty basic at the start, what it allows us to do is just to have like a foundation to work off. And see, just like that, we've created so much life in that. And this is just like a mock paint, so we're just getting like foundations down. Yeah, that's it really. And here, now that I know that this side is basically projecting no light, but we know that this side is and this side is not, I can start working with the terrain here and kind of carving out better lighting. Just like that. And just like before, I just want to start creating little bits of landscape. So just adding a slight blue sky in the back. That's just going to allow us, this looks a little saturated for my liking. Maybe a bit bright as well. But yeah, what that's going to do for us, I'm just going to add a fade over time so we can kind of see some distance. As I mentioned, that draw distance that occurs. Awesome. I'm just going to use a standard round for a little bit to get some of these details down. So I'm not working on detailing, I'm working on, you know, kind of what are the shapes that I'm working with. I need to get some of these details fixed up, you know. go back. Actually, we're going to go to a chalky gritty brush here for a little bit, just to change up kind of what's happening. And chalky gritty is fun for me. Just going to turn the pen pressure back on. As I said, just working on that constant layering allows for, you know, interesting use of space and, you know, colors and shapes and values. We don't get that if you know, we don't sort of try to incorporate everything we have given to us. Putting a little bit of blue just on the insides to create that, you know, that look. Going to lower the opacity a fraction here. Make like a little shrine before it. Sort of two paths that kind of branch off. I've lost my fang brush for now, so that's okay. We'll have it kind of come up to us, the viewer. Sometimes I get a bit too random with my pathing. And the Iron Crow looks so good on the stairs and pillars. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I go a little crazy with it sometimes. And the only thing as well is that draw distance means I have to make some of these, just these stairs a bit thinner. I mean the pathway a bit thinner. And then we can create maybe another one that goes that way. Beautiful. And we can see how far that one's come. And, you know, a lot of this can be redesigned. And that's fine. Okay, now I can kind of show you some stuff. Okay, I'll show you a fun little trick of mine. Okay. So say you want to darken one piece, but you don't want to darken everything. Right? So this mountain, for example, I want to be quite light up the corner here, not so much on the end. Yep. Is I just rub off little fractions. See how that is now only applying to sections? And it looks so much nicer. And we're going to do it again with a filter. So we see this like purple. So we've got to see what kind of, you know, the only thing though is I just want to rub from, you know, get rid of it on the purple so I can see how the, you know, as we can see it's just interacting with the mountain here. And I'm just going to try all the filters out. Do that blue's an interesting like idea maybe. Okay, cool. So what I want to do from here is, once again, lightly rub out stuff. Right? And you see how these colors are blending together again. Let's just go to here. I'm going to put another one on top. And we'll see if we can make like an interesting mix. There was that interesting blue. Yeah, that was awesome. And I'll just keep doing these and mixing these together and creating these interesting palettes. What is causing that one on the top right hand? Oh, it's good. It looks cool. So this is interesting. Awesome. So let's get into it. I want that fang brush back. Nah, screw it. Screw it. I'm just gonna put the foundation of the city up. Getting the big blocks out the way. I might make that brush smaller. Something that's a little interesting about buildings. Oh, you really like the blue? That's awesome. That's what we're hoping for. A good acceptance rating. When you're doing buildings from afar, I have to pick myself up on all the time. I use quite a small brush instead of a big bulky one. And what that allows me to do, as you can see, you just fill in little parts here as we go higher. You can't have buildings being too thick. You can have some major buildings being really thick, but what it does is it makes your castles look really small, actually, because they're just like so wide. If you look at skyscrapers, they're very tall, but they're actually quite thin. Like my arm, right? But if it was like twice as thick, it just doesn't look as tall unless it's two different buildings. So here I'm just trying to create more of these ominous kind of colors. I'm just going to bring some of this green over here. I thought it looked beautiful. And we'd want to kind of... I like the idea of selling this idea that the light and color is being drawn and sucked away and pulled into this interesting mixture. I'm going to get rid of this awful green. Alright. Slight issue with the mountain angle, but that's alright, we can fix that. So I'm just adding some lighting on the right side of everything, so it's like it's being lit from the right. And see, now that looks just gorgeous. Okay, I just want to get some of this done. I'm trying to add this kind of ominous gate in the distance. Just dampening some of that light. Alright. So, before we move on, because we're getting close to the end of class, the idea is what's the idea trying to sell in every single piece? I'll just use a circle brush for this. I actually like it being quite subtle, actually. And you see how there's this kind of line being generated. And what happens is it adds this sense of mystique for this piece. Like, what is this trying to do? The only thing I want to try adding in is I just feel like it's missing out on some interesting purples. I don't know why. I don't know what it is exactly that is drawing me to the purple, but something is. Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. Let's see if I can implement more colors in that later. This one is struggling to come together, but I like the principal concept of it. I'm just going to quickly run through some of the lines that I intend to put in. Let's go find my... No, I'll tell you what, just use my favorite chalky gritty. Maybe the problem was is that I was using the Fang brush. Alright, a bit intense. Don't need it so intense. Can chill out. Trying to make sure this can define, and if it, if it's not coming together, then, surprise, it doesn't come together, but I want it to. And all it is, I just think I just haven't spent enough time kind of defining certain shapes. I think what I've done wrong, I've made too big of a gap here. I mean, too many gaps. So I need to separate them more. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And alright, now hopefully you're starting to see what I'm going for here. If not, then you as my art directors will be very displeased with me. I like this idea of this like fog coming down, but the color does need to drag down. I'm going to add a little waterfall just to mix things up. Yeah, I think I'm just fighting for this one. It's not coming together. This one's got its basic details together, so I'm more than happy with it. The only thing I might do here is I'm just going to come in and grab the darkest colors. Make sure if you're going to do shading like this, you do it with the colors that are on the canvas. So dark greens, for example. The only thing is I want to bring a little bit of warmth into the front here. So sometimes I'll just grab from around. And you see, all I'm doing here is just adding a bit of like base value, creating some difference between the lights and darks here, and I'll keep running through. And then here, I'm more than happy with this one. It's got all of its ideas down. So, as you can see, some, like this top right-hand one, just, I don't know, it's just not reading right. I could fix it up. I think a lot of it's got to do with the curvature, for example. And if I was to spend more time, I would warp the image. I'll just give you a demonstration. Let me just duplicate this. Okay. What I would do here is give it kind of more curve so that you would get like a better sense of that shape. And then probably do it here as well. Whoa! I did not know what happened there at the last second. Come on, my class has gone too long. Oh, of course, the bugs happened. Standard Photoshop bug. Alright, we can do that. We can leave that there. That's fine. But yeah, you can see how I would fix that up. I'm just going to leave that like that because it actually looks way better. So, I mean, it's just, sometimes you're not focusing on it right, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Love the rest of these, though. My favorite one is by far this bottom right one, which I just honestly thought was going to be the worst one today. And the top left one. I love this idea of stepping into like a galaxy stairway. Anyway, we're going to choose 2 to work with. Because obviously we're talking about this from concept art versus illustration. I'm showing how you can use this to create illustrations. If you're doing concept art, keep these 4. Keep working on these 4. I hope you all thoroughly enjoyed the lesson. Thank you for everyone for turning up. You're all amazing. I can't wait to stream tomorrow where we'll work on 2 of these and really spice them up. Oh, let's just quickly go over everything actually. Oh, screw, I'll put you down there. So that's what we had before. That's where we're at now. And you can see how easy it is to transform some of these images. Now, as I said, they still look messy. But this is us squishing a bunch of ideas together, right? I'm working quite slow because I'm trying to explain everything. I'm really tired right now, for example. But this is like a great way to just throw ideas together. And we've got 4 brilliant painting ideas. Actually, now that I've stretched and contorted this, I actually quite like it a lot. So you can see there's so many opportunities to create great stuff. We could have created great stuff out of all of these. But that's, you know, refine, work harder, keep working on them. And you can see. And then you'll see how we'll come in and I probably might just pick one and polish it. And what that's going to allow us to do is to see how you can create just one polished product. I might do 2. No, we'll pick 1. I'll figure it out. Indecisive. But yeah, hopefully you guys can see that comparison, how things go. Anyway, you guys have an absolutely wonderful night. Hope you like my spoopy dark camera. We will not be in Spoopy Dark Camera for the rest of Halloween, don't worry. I just didn't want light tonight. Hopefully you all heard me great, and have a great one.